Is Virginia Tech back? It's been about 15 years since the Hokies were a powerhouse program. No more Frank Beamer, and a few bad hires later, and Tech has turned into a joke. But any program is one hire away from relevancy. Just look at Indiana. And sometimes you get really lucky, and a great coach can fall into your lap. That appears to be the case for Virginia Tech after James Franklin was shockingly fired from Penn State after 3 straight losses. Penn State was number 2 early in the season. We're on the cusp of a national championship appearance less than a year ago, but the program decided it was time to move on and see if there is a better option out there. That's easier said than done, but Tech will take it for a program that has been clawing and hoping to return to the top of the ACC. Suddenly, it's not only a real possibility, but dare I say, probable. Look, full transparency, I am a Virginia Tech grad. It's a wonderful time to be a fan right now, and this really is only the beginning. This fan base has continued to show up for a disappointing product for years, and I think that says a lot about Virginia Tech. I think it shows that success is deserved, and I think James Franklin is the guy to get them back on track. It has been a messy ride for Virginia Tech since the Frank Beamer era, and those were the golden years. We're talking Michael Vick, Bruce Smith, Cam Chancellor, D'Angelo Hall, so many other guys. Beamer is one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He had a successful and very long 29-year tenure before he got to Tech. The Hokies had only played in 6 bowl games. Well, Beamer got them to 23 and made a national championship in 1999. He put Virginia Tech on the map. I probably don't even go to Virginia Tech if Beamer doesn't coach there, and makes it a relevant athletic program. I graduated on that field at Lane Stadium with the Frank Beamer statue outside, and I wore a number 25 jersey to some games just like everyone else, honoring his retired number. But let me say, without Beamer, Tech hasn't been close to what it was. The glory days are gone. It's been somewhat of a rough stretch for the Hokies over the past decade. After Beamer retired, Tech hired Justin Fuente, the head coach at Memphis. He took over, and he did immediately win the ACC championship and won the Belk Bowl. The Hokies finished at number 16 in the AP poll. It was a hot start for him. Tech did follow it up with 3 straight bowl appearances, and the Hokies were fine. Not great. Never even lived back up to that 2016 season again. Now, my first year at Tech was 2020. I got to start covering the program, and it was rocky. COVID was weird, and that team was talented, but not good enough, and Fuente did coach some very good players. That 2021 draft alone had Caleb Farley and Christian Darrisaw go back-to-back in the first round. 2018 had Tremaine and Terrell Edmonds go in the first. There was some talent. It just never came together, and eventually it wasn't enough. The Hokies moved on, firing Fuente after a 5-5 start to 2021. I still remember sitting next to my roommate in class that morning, getting that notification. That led to the hiring of Brent Pry in 2022. It was a bit bad under Fuente at times, but man, it only got worse under Pry. I will say, he was a great dude. I got to interview him for Tech Athletics after he got hired, and he was awesome, but he didn't work out. I wish it did, but it just didn't. That first season was a mess, and then Tech did make back-to-back bowl games, but it came after going 6-6 both times. That 2024 season, there were some super high expectations that even had Pat McAfee picking Tech to make the CFP, and they weren't even close. It was a disappointment for the whole program, the coaching staff, the players, and Kyron Drones, who never really developed into the player we thought he could be. Tech ended up starting this season 0-3, which got Pry fired. The first 2 games were a loss to Shane Beamer and number 13 South Carolina, and then a second-half collapse against Vanderbilt. The Hokies then lost to ODU 46-26 at home, and that was it. A change had to be made. It happened Sunday morning as I sat at a Richmond minor league baseball game with some of my friends from college, and there it was, and it wasn't shocking. Philip Montgomery took over as the interim head coach, and at the time of recording, Tech sits at 3-7 before hosting number 13 Miami, but that doesn't even matter. The narrative around the program and big question has been not what's happening on the field, but who the next head coach would be. When Brent Pry was fired, James Franklin was the head coach for number 2 Penn State. The Nittany Lions were 3-0. They were less than a minute from potentially making the national championship a season ago, if not for a Drew Aller pick. Franklin was not even a possibility early on. I remember talking about who could possibly be the next head coach at Tech with everybody, and it would have been outrageous to think somehow it could be James Franklin, or even just a coach with the same resume that Franklin has. But here we are, and it's because things did go south at Penn State fast. Number 6 Oregon came to State College and got away with a 30-24 OT win. The narrative around Franklin has been that he can't win the big game, and that was another rough example, but that's not why he got fired. That loss broke Penn State. The locker room never recovered. Then 0-4 UCLA beat Penn State the next week, 42-37 for a wild upset, and it didn't stop there. 1 week later, Penn State lost at home to Northwestern 22-21, and that was it. James Franklin got fired the next day, ending a 12-year tenure at Penn State. Now, Franklin really did have a ton of success there, and he revived a program that hurt for 2 seasons under Bill O'Brien while being ineligible. He won 10 or more games in 6 seasons and played in a bowl in 10 seasons. Last season was the clear best, as the Nittany Lions went 13-3, beat both SMU and Boise State in the CFP. Franklin helped Penn State return into a powerhouse, but it didn't come with a national championship, and that was what they wanted at Penn State. The elephant in the room, of course, is Franklin's record against top 10 opponents, 4-22. That is worrisome, sure, yes. However, 14 of those losses came to Ohio State or Michigan. I think that stat says far more about those two programs and how good the coaching and talent has been there than it does about Penn State and James Franklin. I mean, almost nobody is competing with Ohio State, and Michigan was unstoppable with Jim Harbaugh for a while. It's easier said than done. It feels like a real possibility that Penn State could look back and think they made a mistake firing James Franklin. A lot of those top options that would have been good hires for Penn State got extensions. Indiana locked up Kurt Cignetti. Nebraska extended Matt Rule, who played at Penn State. Texas A&M paid Mike Elko. Penn State may have to settle here. It's easy to want more from a coach, but it's hard to find one better. On the other hand, Virginia Tech lucked into a coach with an incredible resume and who does know how to win. It's a huge hire, a hire that could return Virginia Tech to what it once was. Franklin had a great opening press conference, and he's already making moves on the recruiting trail, and before you know it, he's going to be running out to Enter Sandman at Lane Stadium. This is just absolutely incredible as a Virginia Tech fan to have a guy like James Franklin with a resume that he has to come to Virginia Tech. It still, to a degree, kind of feels like a fever dream. I mean, when we fired Brent Pry, there was absolutely no chance of getting James Franklin, or really even getting a guy as successful as James Franklin has been. We're talking about a guy who's going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. It still just doesn't make a ton of sense. I remember joking when he got fired from Penn State with some of my friends that, oh, imagine if we got Franklin. And there was never actually really substance to that. It didn't make sense. It didn't feel like there was any chance because, honestly, I more or less expected him to immediately get scooped up by a really good program. I'm still surprised that didn't happen looking back when you see some of the other programs that have had some of these openings. But the reality is he did get fired for a reason. That being said, him going to the ACC at school like Virginia Tech, it's not as difficult, and having those expectations of you have to win a national championship. If he goes to LSU, that's exactly what you're going to be dealing with. You get there day one and you are expected to win a national championship. At Penn State, he was expected to win a national championship. That's not how it works at Virginia Tech right now. Virginia Tech has been down in the dumps. It's been really rough. When I was growing up, Virginia Tech was in this golden age. They were really good. It was the fun school. Everybody around me always rooted for Virginia Tech, watching Michael Vick, watching Tyrod Taylor. And honestly, I rooted on the other side of that for most of my life until I went to college. When I got to college, Virginia Tech still had that reputation, but it had slipped a little bit. And as I was there, it continued to slip more and more and more and more. And it just continued to get worse. And now Virginia Tech is in this brutal spot where you just have to wonder, can it claw its way out? Can Virginia Tech become relevant again? I think about Nebraska a lot, and I feel like those two fan bases have kind of been very similar. At one point, we're very good, top of the top in college football, and then have just dipped over time. Kind of got embarrassing there for a few years, but the fans continue to show up. I mean, every time I've gone to a Tech game post-grad, and they are awesome awful. I can't believe how many people are showing up to those games. I mean, I can't believe I'm even showing up to those games outside of just trying to see some of my old friends from college. It's absolutely absurd how much buy-in there are from fans at Virginia Tech. It's really impressive, and I think it says a lot, and I think James Franklin can come in and just get Tech back to where a lot of these fans just want to be. There's no expectation to win a national championship. The hope is that Tech can return to winning 9 to 10 games a season, maybe compete for some ACC championships, and win one, every, 5 to 10 years. With a 12-team playoff, of course, it is possible to make the playoff. And I think the biggest part of this whole thing, and maybe why James Franklin chose Virginia Tech, the ACC just isn't that difficult right now. Clemson's obviously down, FSU's obviously down, and probably going to fire Mike Norvell at some point. It's a mess. Anybody can win. We don't even know who's going to win right now in the ACC. And a team like Virginia, who was bad last year, could turn around and win the ACC championship reasonably right now. And that's a big Virginia Tech rival, obviously. Anything can happen. And I think James Franklin is the perfect guy to be able to turn this ship around pretty fast for Virginia Tech. I think it's an A+ hire. I'm absolutely ecstatic. I can't wait to see what happens from here for the Hokies. I just think that we're about to have a great era. And you know what? If everything turns around and Franklin wins a lot and then leaves, that's fine. If Virginia Tech can just get back to even somewhat of what it once was, it would just be nice to win 8, 9, 10 games, make bowl games, because right now it seems like that's slipped. It's been a long time. Virginia Tech has put a lot of money into athletics now and are showing that they want to win. And they're paying the support staff a lot of money now. They're paying James Franklin a ton of money now. Virginia Tech is very serious about football right now. They want to get back up to that mountaintop. And by hiring James Franklin, that is what that signals. And I, bias aside, think that's going to happen.